Hello and welcome to the Axiom Guide for Beginners. So in the previous tutorial I showed you guys how to select builds, and today we are going into the selections and operations tab. That basically means if we are back on this screen that we're going up here, operations and select. Now for this tutorial I placed down my statue of a goose and I'm gonna show you how all of these work. So for these I'm gonna use my selection key. Okay, so now we have the goose selected. We can go in here to select. Clear, we already know it unselects the thing, but we have a lot of other stuff underneath it, like filter. What we can do with this section, if we have it on stone and we filter it, then it's only gonna select the one thing we wanted to filter out. You can undo this by pressing Ctrl Z. Underneath that we have the expand section, which basically means how much I want to expand my selection. So if I just forgot to select like 3 blocks, I can put this on 3 and then put on expand, and as you can see the box went bigger. I can also do this on -3 and then I'm gonna shrink it down. So I also have shrink in here, which is basically what I just showed you. We have Distort. Distort is gonna make the selection box a little bit more random. The distance is more like how bigger do we want to make it. And the noise reduction is more of how much do we want to have things separated. So if I now put it on 5 and on Distort, you can see that it has this really weird shape thingy. But if we put this on 500 and we put it on Distort, you can see that it's more into one shape around it. That's also because the distance is lower. So if we put this back on 5 and we would put this up, let me first make it back to the original. And we click on Distort, you can see that it's very random, very random. But if we do this back and we put this on 50 and we click then on Distort, you can see that it has selected all the blocks around it. So if we put it on here and we then put it on Distort, you see that it's way more compact than when I do it this big and I click then on Distort. Okay, then we go to smooth. If we then go to smooth, with the above one, we make the selection bigger or smaller. The threshold makes it so it's more confined to an area. Then we have the bounting box. It's basically turning it back. Now, in order to explain the convex hull, I made a distortion selection. And if I then go in here, and we go to convex hull, you can see that it makes the shape of the smallest convex set it has. So we now have had all the selection options here. Let's go to the operations tab. First thing we can find in operations tab is fill. That means we're gonna fill up the whole box with stone. Which is clearly not what we want. We have the fill outline. That means we are only gonna do the outside. If I now go in here, then you see the goose is still in here, but it's hollow on the inside. Then we have the fill walls. In this case, it's just gonna do the top part. But if you would like make selections, then this would automatically fill out all the outside walls. Then we have the top, it's only gonna do the top. And if we do the bottom, it's only gonna do the bottom. Now you can do that both here in these, or you can just go to this little thingy and there you can select what you want. You can change the block up here in the middle. It's quite explanatory. Then we have fill nearest. And what this does is it takes the nearest blocks it has and pull those outwards. So you get like shapes like these. Then we have replace. A replace could be like, I really don't like the cobblestone, for example. So we go on here. We can change the cobblestone. And we can say, do you know what? I just want to have that made out of andesite. Just type here andesite and then I can just click on it, or you can just scroll down and then we can click on replace, and now you see that the cobblestone is replaced by andesite. Now I can also press Ctrl Z to undo that again. Next to type replace, we also have set biome. Here we can choose change it up to a savanna, for example, and then we can set the biome. You can basically see here in the yellow squares where the biome has changed. The difference with fill vertically is that if I set it now, it will also select it all the way up into the world, just like a normal chunk would be in vanilla. This could be handy for when you're building and you want to have the aesthetic of pollution. You can make it like a swamp, so the water is more green, that sort of stuff. If you want to have it snowing there and you want to have like all the snow falling, then change it into a cold biome. So the next one is the Autoshade. So then we get this little pop-up. This little pop-up starts here with sun. This basically means that when this is on, it uses like the light to shade blocks, and when this is off, blocks are shaded with more like an ambient. We can choose where we want to have the light source come from. In this case, it would be where my character is standing, but we can also say like, no, I want to have it at the sun. The sun here is now above it, but in my case, I like to have it come from more from the side, so a custom position or the angle that I'm looking at is probably the best. This is the ambient occlusion. This is basically what happens when we turn this off. The ambient occlusion basically determines how much exposed the block is to the light. So the less exposed the block is, the darker it will be. Then we have global illumination. Global illumination, you need to see it more like a mirror effect. It will be that the light bounces off other blocks towards other blocks. So if we turn this up and we would auto shade it, let's just turn these all on for now. We would auto shade it now. It means it will add more blocks that are like the same color, and if we put the global illumination down, it will make the shade darker, just like you see in here. Now let's put this back to where it was. We can press Ctrl+C to undo all our shadings. So the dither effect means how many blocks we are going to use to make the shading. If we put this really low and we would auto shade it, you can see that we do have some blocks, but it's still going from gray to dark. But if we do this really high up and we do auto shade, you can see that it's almost changing up every block. So for this type of build, it's way too small to use this, but let's go here into custom, because then we can choose what we want to use for our shading. There is just one problem with this. This one has a lot of slabs and a lot of stairs. And if I would now put it on auto shade, no matter if it's on 100 or not, you can see that it's gonna replace them all with full blocks. Which is something you do have to keep in mind when you are using this. Let's keep him like this for now. And let's say I want to make him a little bit more darker. So let's add some black stone in there. This is going to be, on the bottom is going to be that's more towards you. And the further up is going to be more shadow. So we're going to press here auto shade again. And then you can see, because we set it from player position, that it's the darkest over here. Now let's rewind that to this goose again, and let's go back to the automatic. So we have these palette options. That means I usually keep those on, because that makes it a little bit more easier to work with, because I don't like glazed terracotta or a lot of ores in my build. You could add them, but they might make it a little bit messy. I also don't want my blocks to be replaced by entities such as bells, for example. So I will just turn all of these on, because that's easier to work with. You can also put it back here, go to default, and then it will reset everything we have changed above. So if you want to try something else again, you can try it again. Again, this is something I would use for big builds and not for something like a small goose, but this is more for us for practice. Then we have drain, water, and waterlogg. For this, I quickly need to add some water. So I've made a new selection. Within here, you see the little pond of water. And I've also selected the ground around it. Now, if I go in here and I go on drain, you can see that everything that was in my selection is now gone. We can also reverse this again by Ctrl C. What we can also do is we can also go and waterlogg. That means that the whole thing will be filled with water. We can add snow by using the smooth snow, which will automatically cover everything in a layer of snow for us. We can go into simulate gravity, which will basically make it like it's broken down, it's aged over time, it's, yeah, fallen off. Which is really cool if you make a city and on one side you make like it's the future and everything there is like destroyed, then this would probably be the same statue, but then fallen down. So then we have the trigger updates. Trigger updates is for things like this. I made a floating sign here. It's just in the middle of nowhere. Technically, this should not be possible. So if I go in here and I go to trigger updates, you will see that it vanishes. So if you copy something over like finds, it will be somewhere where it practically shouldn't be. And it wouldn't be possible to also rebuild it with a schematic. Then you can use this trigger command to just wipe it out. If we use the hollow command, that means that the blocks inside of the goose are like removed. So it's now empty in here. Which is handy if you make something with a big tool and it's all filled up with blocks and you need to rebuild it in survival. It might be handy if you don't need to collect a few thousand blocks that you can't even see on the outside. We also have the fill gaps. That basically means that it's gonna fill up all the blocks on the outside that show like the hollow inside. It does the exact opposite of hollow operations, like empty space within the object. It gets filled with the active block we have over here. So in this case, it's stone. So the next one we have here is a generate color field. We're gonna skip that. We're first gonna go to Analyze. Click on that, we get this little block and we can go Analyze. And this will tell you how many blocks you have in this selected area. And then we also have the animated rebuild. The animated rebuild is really cool, especially for content creators to show off their build. And I'm still struggling a little bit with this one. So guys, hear me out, hear me out. If I now click, this is just the default setting on do animated rebuild, you will see it will restart to build. It's really cool for time lapses. The only thing is for me that I sometimes still struggle with how I want to make it because I love to have my builds going from the ground till up. Now, we do have a few sections that we can mess with, like we can make it that the blocks go less fast. I personally like them over here. The max delay has more to do with when the next type of block comes into the picture. Then we have the air block delay. The air block delay I would just keep on there because we are not really pasting in air blocks. Then we have the slime block delay. If we push this off, you can see that it builds more gradually inside the building. Then it focuses on using the same blocks. So then we have a different block delay. If we move this one up, you can see that it's only gonna build, mostly with the one block you start with and then goes over to the next block and then starts using that before it's gonna go over to the next type of block. Then we have the random extra delay. If we put this up, then you can see that the variation and speed in which it's built can vary a lot. So it looks like it comes a little bit in waves. There's a random delay added to each block delay. The extra delay randomizes each block placement. Then we have the horizontal multiplier, and if we put that up, then you can see it multiplies the delay with the provided value for the blocks placed on the y-axis. If you do the vertical multiplier up, then you can see it will do it on the x and z axis. Now you need to tweak this for your own, for what you like. But before we're gonna go further, there is one more thing that I want to show you guys. Now, if we go out of this menu, so I don't have my operators tab activated yet because I just updated Axiom. So what we are going to do is we're going to press exit, we go options, controls, and in here it says operator item tabs off. We need to put that on. Not only will this give us this, but it will also give us lightning bulbs that we can place. Now in this same tab, we can find this purple box, and that's a structure block. This structure block we can use to guide from where we want to start with our animated build. So for example, if I would want to have it's gonna start from the ground, I can put this in the ground over there, and then we can go into this model again. You can see it's in the selection. And if we now do animated rebuild, you will see that it starts from that one spot. Now, if we press Ctrl C, you see that this thing reappears because once you use it, it's gone. So make sure to press Ctrl C if you want to change like one of these settings just to see what you like the most. So for example, I could put this up and this a little bit down, and then it should make my build more horizontally before it goes up. Let's try this out. Yep. So what we can do now, we press Ctrl C, we go out here for the content creator underneath us. Mulberry, the creator of Axiom, also has a replay mod called Flashback. I will do another tutorial about that as well because it's one of the most amazing mods. You can just start recording. You go in here, and now we're going to do the animated rebuild. So you can just now press animated rebuild, and then we're done. We're gonna go out of here, and we finish the recording. Okay guys, so this is in the flashback mod. Look, I'm over here. I'm basically gonna show you now how this looks on the replay footage. Because here we didn't do anything yet. And here you see that it starts to build and it's coming up on their own. So yeah, that's a pretty cool feature. Only thing I need to add with this is that if you have something like a house, do make sure that the interior is also in there. Okay, and then we're going to the final thing of the operations tab that I wanted to show you, and that was the generate color field. And for that, we're gonna get rid of the goose. And we're just gonna go a little bit to the side, and we are gonna select this. Make it a little bit bigger, one off the ground. So the bigger you make this, the bigger the color field is gonna be. Now, Nietvries, what's color field? I'm gonna show you. I'm first gonna press enter. Then I'm going on operations, generate color fields. Okay, so this is a color field. And this helps you pick out the blocks from one color to the next. So if you are like, I want to make a build that goes from pink to gray, I can just click on here and follow it along. And then you see in my hotbar that it goes from pink to gray in the most smooth way. Now, if you make the selection smaller, these will be more piled up. Really handy tool for this. And that's why we're going back in here, is this ruler. And you can use the ruler like what I just did manually. I can now say I want to go from yellow to purple. So if I now press shift and I'm back in this menu, I can see pretty well which blocks I should use. You can choose to either only pick the blocks that are like straight in between, or you can choose to choose the blocks that are near to it. Like in this case, we would start off with gold, then we would go for a bull. You can see what I'm doing. Gradually, it's gonna go up there, and it's easier for you to select which color you want next. Now, if we want to undo this, we can just press delete. And if we want to unselect this, same, or you can just do it with the Ctrl Z. Now we're at it, and we have had all the operations and all the selections. Let's go into this ruler a little bit more. You see, I just used it as a line with a block count. Oh, we can also use it for a circle. Now here with the ruler, you can see there are different modes, different displays. Here the line is set to block count, basically in a straight line distance from the first point to the last one. It doesn't care about the blocks in between, it just measures how much distance is there in between these. In this case it's 40, but if we put this on distance, it sums up the distance in Minecraft terms, like how a player would travel. So 1 block up, 1 block down, 1 block left. So if you make a road and you make a mountain in between, it's this with distance is going to tell you that the player is going to go up the mountain. If you put it on block count, it's just going to measure how many blocks are between the blocks. Now we can also put the mode here from lines on a circle. If we put the circle on here, it's gonna measure how many blocks there are between our middle block and the outer block that we have selected. But it's also gonna tell us the radius. This is the radius. It's also gonna tell us how big the round is around it. I forgot the technical name. But yeah, this number represents everything, like how big the circle is, and this tells us the radius, so it's gonna be 7 wide on each side. Now if we put this on distance, and I think for now this is where we're gonna leave it on. What we can do before we log off is that we're gonna do a little exercise. Okay guys, so now it's practice time. We are gonna transform this one into a sand goose. I did make a little custom palette here, but this is more for me because my brain sometimes forgets which blocks I had in mind, because I looked over there first. You can also just write it down, or if it's a really small build, it's probably handier to use the other tools we have in Axiom. But for now, this for just practicing is fine. I will leave a link where you can download this goose, so you can also practice this together with me. So that being said, this is now selected. We go into operations, and there you see 2 types of replace. Now this replace, you see a whole lot of blocks. And if we go into the type replace, you don't see that many blocks. This is the difference between both of them. Now, what is the difference? Let's start with this. Here you can choose a type of block, and it's gonna replace all variants in the same position. So if we go in here and I wanna say I wanna replace all the stone with smooth sandstone, it's gonna replace even the slabs and the stairs with sandstone. So this is a really fast way of retexturing things. So you can just follow me along, and we're gonna make this thing into a sand goose. So I also want to have the cobblestone, and I want to turn you into the sandstone. And we're gonna replace. Yes, and I want to do the same with the mossy, and I want to do the same with the mossy stone bricks, and I want to do the same with the normal stone bricks. Replace. Okay, so we have now come to the point that we're out of blocks that we can replace. So how are we gonna do the rest of this thing? Well, that's simple. We're now gonna go, instead of to the type replace, to the normal replace. I put this a little bit on the side. Here you can see in the normal replace, I can select the moss and I can just say like replace it. And this is basically the IX. If you have this one and you have it on the stripped log, it will put the little round thingies to the top. Now in this case, we replaced it with wood. I can also select the stairs in here that haven't been done, or the slabs. And let's start with mossy stone brick slabs, and then we can go here and we're gonna say we want to replace that with sandstone slabs. Now you need to watch out, because here you can see this is on any and this is on bottom. That means it's gonna place them replace them all on the bottom, which is something we might not want to do. So we're gonna first put it on bottom so it can replace all the bottom ones, and then we're gonna put it on top so it can replace all the top ones. Now, you saw earlier that I couldn't replace these mossy bricks. That's because they're double. So we have, so we have infected mossy stone bricks in there, guys. So there we go. That's why it didn't work, because you can't select that from the type replace. So we have stone brick slabs, and we are gonna replace that with these as well. And we're gonna first do the top ones, then the bottom ones, and then the double ones. And just to make sure, we're gonna do them as well for the infected stone. So we still have some stone brick stairs over there. Let's get you some sandstone brick stairs. We need to make sure that they're both facing the same direction. In our case, this is east. So we're gonna go to east, and we're gonna say that it's gonna be on any, and we're just gonna replace it. Okay, then we have the stone bricks that I want to have replaced with... Let's replace them with sand. There we go. And then we also still have the cracked bricks. So cracked bricks, and I'm not gonna replace them with sand because that doesn't work if you want to rebuild this in survival. But what we can do is we can put some of the wood in there just to give it a little bit more shade. Okay, so now our whole thing is made out of wood and sand, which is very good. But we also want to change up the vines. So let's type in vines, and let's do glow lichen on this one. And now you can see that there are a lot more properties here. So the advice that I'm gonna give you is look at how the picture looks. Because if I do this on false, you will see that there is water around it. So we don't want to have that, so we're gonna turn it off. If we put this on true, you can see that it's only gonna give it on that side. So if we want to replace these, we need to put them on false on both things simultaneously. So doing north, replace. Let's see, that was over there. Go to the other side. We're doing south now. Replace. And then we're doing west. And replace. And this is where we'll have it. I hope this has learned you enough about the selections and the operation tabs. And if you have any more questions, me and Dippy Bladder are streaming this right now, where you can join us and ask us questions during this live stream, or just see how I'm teaching Dippy, because maybe there will be some points that might surprise you, or that it was like, oh, Nietvries didn't think about that during the tutorial. But yeah, if you guys want to start this tutorial from the beginning, and you can click right here, or if you want to see the previous one, you can just click right there. Oh, and the live stream, of course, is over there. With that being said, thank you for watching. Hope you have learned something, and I will see you guys next time.